So I think the important piece that we've talked about today is that like what is data hasn't necessarily changed, but what is data that we have access to work with most certainly has. And so the analogy about that we were talking about earlier that we have more information to turn into knowledge now than we've ever had before kind of sticks out to me in that artificial intelligence. I never really thought about how artificial intelligence could be tied to human intelligence. I've always thought about it as apart from, but I think that those two things are not necessarily too different now.
Well, that's a good way of thinking of it.
And so we can use our human intelligence and supplement it with artificial intelligence to become more intelligent individuals. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I think is the coolest about this is that we're all smarter for having access to these things. And so now the most important thing is getting the stuff that's in here out here. Mm-hmm. And so like I feel fancy for having journaled for as long as I have. And so I'm glad that I've done that. And because I have the ability now to take that information and ask questions of myself. And so since I started journaling in 2018 in earnest. And so from 2018 to now, I can ask like, what did I think about this? Or what did I think about that? Or I'm thinking about doing this. What experience do I have or whatever? And, because this is only 6 years ago, but what if it was 20 years ago? In 20 years, will what I wrote down in 2018 matter? I don't know. But the important thing is that I'll have it. And if it is important, then it'll be available to me.
Yeah, and data has to be stored and has to be processed. Mm-hmm. And so you have been storing data from journaling. And journaling is like, to me, it's like this, it's a different type of data. It's a reflection of what's happened. It's almost like your metadata is a good way of thinking of it, as opposed to, how much I weigh on that day. That's a fact, and that's a hard one, but you're adding the metadata from your daily tasks. I really think that's interesting, but now, in the past, the only way for you to process that was to go back and read it. Yeah. And read it over, and nobody ever does that, right?
Yeah, so like a good example is, if I journal consistently, and I journal about a family member consistently, I talk about them or whatnot, I can ask like, how has my opinion of this person changed over the years? Do I seem generally positive or negative towards this person? Like, do they affect me in any kind of negative way? Mm-hmm. And I could potentially pull insights that I couldn't have otherwise out of just me writing things down that has one meaning, but when you tie it to 5 other data points in the same avenue, it has a totally separate meaning.
Yeah, where you kind of depressed in one year versus another just based on your writings.
Yeah, and like what commonalities are in the depressed years, and then how does that differ from the non-depressed years?
You're talking about certain habits that you have in one year compared to another, and all of that metadata was something you could store in the past. Mm-hmm. Now, with all of these new tools, we have ways to process it.
We can
use
it.
Yeah, and so I think that's where I go with things. Is I always think of the fact that we've been able to store things in an analog way in the past. Mm-hmm. Then we were able to store things in a digital way. Mm-hmm. And now we're doing a better job of storing things in a way that can be processed, not just facts and figures, but also the metadata that goes along with that. And so I think that's incredibly important. So if you know the data, you're able to have better decisions. If you can have ways to let artificial intelligence be ways to process that data, it hopefully will lead to better decisions.